Welcome to the Thursday stream. I hope everyone's having an awesome Thursday morning. Make sure you grab your coffee or favorite beverage. We've got quite the amount of headlines to go through. Let me make sure we got everything going here. Welcome everybody. Just a quick thank you to Pineapple Pangolin for the for the offline follow. The Kevin FM, thank you so much for the offline follow. Creative Antithesis, thank you so much for the offline follow. I appreciate that. And I appreciate all of you guys who follow the channel. I always see you. I see you and I give you shout outs. I appreciate that. Alright folks, it is Thursday, we're almost there, it's almost Friday, so we do have quite the amount of headlines to go through, so let me go ahead and start some of it here. This one seemed kind of funny, so I guess we'll start with this one.
Republican Senator Ted Cruz got freaky with the flag. This clip is so weird. I don't even know how to properly intro it, so I'm going to play it for you. It's really quick, but here is Ted Cruz.
Is this like a Donald Trump thing?
The American flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands. One nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Cool.
All right. Not really sure. I'm not really sure where to go from there. I guess it's worth mentioning here. I think the flag looks fairly uncomfortable in this video.
Wait, is that it?
But he put this video out on Twitter with the caption, "This didn't used to be controversial."
It's not controversial? Wait. I don't get it. Like, is he making out, like, to be, like, some... Is he trying to, like, pull really hard on, like, making himself, like, a victim? Like, this victimization complex? I don't get it. Wait, that's not controversial.
Hashtag Flag Day.
What?
I don't even know what is supposed to be controversial about this.
Right,
like,
exactly. Exactly. How can you wear a beanie with headphones? That's way too hot for me whenever I tried that. Yeah, that's right, Memias. I'm a cold-blooded streamer. That's how I do it. No, I honestly don't know. It's quite comfy here. And I'm used to wearing a beanie. Like, the beanie is me and I am the beanie. So, the beanie is me and I am the beanie. I've worn this out and I live in South Florida, so it gets, needless to say, it gets really hot. And I've worn my beanie out. I'm used to it. That actually makes sense, yeah.
I'm trying to say, the flag's controversial, the Pledge of Allegiance is controversial. Like, conservatives create this, they create their own idea of what the left is, and then fight that instead of actually responding to real criticism.
Right, like that's exactly what I'm saying. Like we're like nothing about this is like, is he trying to like grandstand on something that like doesn't exist? Like he literally just recited the Pledge of Allegiance in front of a flag. Okay. Like I'll say this. I'll say this. David Dole, that was a little bit of a clickbait. Come on, man. They're cutting the internet, bombing us in Palestine. Yikes. If ever interested in voicing someone lived in Israel and Palestine, please hook me up. Well, I'm sorry to hear that, Reficals. I do know that the ceasefire did not last that long. At least it's not North Florida. True. It's controversial because anti-nationalism is on the rise, which includes not saying the pledge. I mean, the pledge, I don't know if like the pledge in and of itself, I guess it just depends for what, like how you take it, you know? But that's only controversial to white people like Ted Cruz. Yeah, like I don't know. I really don't know. Like there's not necessarily a wide spread movement to make something like the Pledge of Allegiance controversial. Like I've never seen a sporting event or any type of like large event like never not have the Pledge of Allegiance. I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't want schools making kids say the pledge before class personally. Yeah, it is a little weird at school. I always thought that was a little weird. Like the whole point is for you to do it voluntarily. Like if you want to recite it, you could. But I don't know. It was always weird to do it in school. It was always weird. I think they stopped that. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, you're right. I'm confusing it. Yeah, you're right. They do the national anthem, not the... Okay, I see. Yeah, okay, now I'm conflating the two. No, you're right, Future Wolf. It's the national anthem that always gets sung. I'm confusing the two. I mean, either way, like... Dude, you putting yourself in front of a camera and reciting the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag isn't that controversial. Like, I don't know. I think they're making themselves out to be victims when there's nothing there. Yeah, okay, I'm conflating the two. Yeah, pledging allegiance to the flag is weird because like you're supposed to be like patriotic to your country. I don't know, it's just weird.
Criticism.
The whole thing is weird.
And this is just another example of how conservative lawmakers show they're patriots, not through actually helping people, but through symbolism.
Right.
So through the Pledge of Allegiance, through the flag, this is how
like
they communicate to their voting base that,
how, dare I say, virtue signaling?
oh, I'm a real American because I said the Pledge of Allegiance to a flag. Okay. It's so weird. So odd. And by the way, this actually got criticized by everybody, by left, right. People just made fun of him because Ted Cruz is so clearly
seeking
fake.
for attention.
Such a
like,
phony. There is not a politician I have seen in I cover politics, you know, largely the US and Canada, but also internationally. I just have not come across a politician that is more disingenuous than Ted Cruz is.
Are you sure?
Such a weirdo fake man. For lack of a better term. That I
don't know, David. I don't know. I think there's a few people that might make that list.
He's so... There's anything that he does and says, he just oozes phoniness. Now let me get to some of the reactions here online, and some of them are hilarious. First up, Dom here tweeted out, regular reminder that Under God was added to the pledge over 60 years.
I heard he's not even
after
from
it was originally
Texas.
written,
True,
intended
that's
to push
right.
back
He's Canadian.
against atheism and communism in the 50s.
Howdy.
You see that? You thought you weren't going to learn anything in this video, but there you go.
How's
Maybe
it going,
you learned
Darknet? How's it
Next
going,
one
Lazy
here,
Pajamas?
Matthew Dowd said, it isn't the flag you are supposed to honor and fight for. It is what the flag stands for, like democracy and justice. You aren't a patriot. I can, though, think of many other P words you might consider describing yourself.
Uh-oh.
Judy Gold here with a very simple, everyone hates you. rather accurate comment here. Stuart.
Hey, KTS, how's it going? By the end of the Trump reign, he had spent 5 years lying so much he wrapped into so many lies that every word he spoke was a lie almost. Well, I mean, I know that's... I know that he's not exactly known for his truth-telling, that's for sure. This Canadian fighting between David Doe and Ted Cruz needs to stop. Listen, if Canada wants Ted Cruz back, I'm all for it, right? I'm all for it. I also heard he eats his steak well done. Oh no, that's taboo.
Stevens here says there's a story that in college Ted Cruz ran for president of Debate Society. No one really cared about it, but after Ted Cruz gave a long and embarrassing speech, a guy got up and announced, quote, "I've decided to run and here's my one promise. I am not goddamn Ted Cruz." And he won. And a guy replied to this saying, I was in college debate years after Cruz. I swear the Princeton team still talked about him despite none of them even being his contemporaries. This was well before he entered politics. He was like a legend of how not to make friends.
Nice.
A cautionary tale to scare freshmen. This goes to my theory, and I think this is a widely held idea, that Ted Cruz is clearly a sociopath. I mean, this is a guy who's he's obviously being an actor 24/7. He doesn't know how to be an actual human that feels. So he just
I don't know, but like
he
I think
thinks how a human is supposed to act. So he's either an alien in a human's body or he's a sociopath, and I tend to think a sociopath a little more likely than an alien. But regardless, Ted Cruz clearly is
I think he's just an arsehole. Hey Elio, how's it going? Morning. We voted, he's all yours now. Fine.
is just built a little differently than I think the rest of us are. And I mean, clearly that Texas has somebody here as a senator who does not care about them.
Ooh, morning.
And has never shown that he cares about Texas or anybody that lives in the state, but is all about himself and furthering his career. He's thrown his kids, his wife under the bus to further his career.
True.
The guy has no principles at all. And
True.
I think that's pretty clear.
I mean, that's the TLDR of that story. That's the TLDR of that story. Hey, Thinking Sabercat, how's it going? You see David Packman's comments on how some left tube are grifters, along with how yikes Jimmy Dore is. I mean, like, if you really, oops, I almost like booped the microphone there. If you like can really describe Jimmy Dore in one word, I think that the appropriate word is yikes. Holy yikes, Batman! The freaking comments that that man has made. Yeah, undeniably gross. As the American delegate, we the Americans accept Aubrey Graham, known as Drake, in exchange for Ted Cruz. Enjoy your Ted. May the force be with you. Oh man. Jesus Christ. Well, oh, hold on. Alio makes a good point. Ted Cruz does have principles. They're just all bad and they're just all wrong and cringy. I don't know. His sexual humiliating is like Me Too levels of giga yikes. Yeah. 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 it's pretty TLDR giga yikes. TLDR giga yikes. Right. Do you have that video, Thinking Sabercat, or is it just like a tweet? Ted Cruz doesn't know ethics or dignity. True. Ted Cruz is the kind of guy who thinks all news is good news. He sees his name printed and doesn't care about the context. True. Reminds me of a certain ex-president. If you have the Thinking Sabercat, if you have the video or tweet, just send it to me in DMs. Yeah, TLDR, this guy, I don't know, like thinking that you're thinking that reciting the Pledge of Allegiance is like some kind of like controversial thing, and then making an entire scene about it. I don't know, dude. Seems kind of cringe. Okay, Universal Discourse posted this on the Discord. I want to give a shout out to them. Go check out Universal Discourse. Broken System, and this is a indigenous news, independent news. Broken Systems can't keep track of native deaths. Jordan, Bennett, Begayi, Sunny. I'm not going to pretend I know how to pronounce this. Christine Trudeau, Indigenous Investigative Collective. This story is produced by Indigenous Investigative Collective, a project of Native American Journalists Association in partnership with High Country News, Indian Country Today, National Native News, Searchlight New Mexico, and it was produced in partnership with Muck Rock with the support of JSK Big Local News. Ah. Is this it? Oh my god. That title. Alright, we'll take a second to look at this in a moment. Yes, Thinking Sabercat, I was there for that one, but I think we got it here. Thank you, Thinking Sabercat. Thank you, Mamias. I appreciate that. We're gonna get to that in a second. Alright, chat. Let's focus for a sec. In May of 2020, the Navajo Nation reported one of the highest per capita COVID infection rates of the United States. Since that milestone, official data reveals that the Navajo Nation has been one of the hardest hit populations during the pandemic. The Navajo Nation boasts the largest population of any indigenous nation in the US, and thousands of Navajo live outside the nation in towns along the border, cities across the country, and other parts of the world, making it difficult to tally the virus's impact on Navajo citizens. It's made worse by a labyrinthian system of local, state, federal, and tribal data reporting systems that often do not communicate with each other or share information. In an effort to come up with more reliable fatality counts, reported with the Indigenous Investigative Collective made multiple public requests for death records held by state examiners of Colorado, New Mexico, Arizona, and Utah. Those requests focused on the counties on or adjacent to the Navajo Nation where many Navajo families live. The states rejected those requests. Okay, so this is a problem. Again, in order for you to have a functioning democracy, you need to be able to access very important information. Holy yikes. The state rejected those requests, citing privacy concerns preventing independent analysis of those records to determine death rates. Experts also cite pervasive misidentification of race and ethnicity of victims at critical data collection points, making the true toll of the pandemic on the Navajo Nation impossible to ever know. Yikes. So I think that we can comfortably, and not in a good way, but we can comfortably assume that all of these numbers are underreported, right? We can comfortably assume that whatever numbers we're able to extrapolate are just underreported, and that's incredibly sad. Wasn't the original name of the Navajo different? This isn't the real indigenous name, is it not? He's like Navajo? A similar thing has happened in many South American countries. Native populations have been by foreign governments like Brazil are actively against helping them. Yikes. Nabiho Pinasto is the indigenous American covering. Okay. terminology. In Navajo language, Din means the people, Dine. In geographic entities, legally defined borders as Nabejo, IC. Dawes Act. Okay, so I have a question. Was there ever a time in history where the Navajo territory was under Spanish rule? Because I don't know if it's like a play on the original name, or because I'm just thinking like out loud. Navajo is very close to Navaja, which is knife in Spanish. So I'm not sure, unless it's just like a his original name is I don't know how to pronounce it, but Navijo Binahasto or Dinata, which just means the people. Maybe it was just like a reorganization of Navajo. Nabijo. The term Navajo comes from Spanish missionaries and historians who referred to the Pueblo Indians through this term, although they referred to themselves as Dedine. There we go. That's what I'm talking about. Navajo, because Navaja is Spanish for knife. So I was wondering if there was a root resemblance or a root similarity. Because to Navajo, Navaja is a Spanish term. But yes, the Dine is people. Dinata, the people. The Navajo people. Oh, okay, here we are. I just didn't read far enough. Memmius. The Navajo people's tradition of governance is rooted in their clans and oral history. The clan system of the Dine is integral to their society as rules of behavior. As the rules of behavior found within the system extend to the manner of redefined culture that the Navajo people call walking in beauty. The philosophy clan system extended before the Spanish colonial occupation of the Dinata through July 25th of 1868. Congressional ratifications of Navajo Treaty with President Andrew Johnson signed by Barboncito Armijo and other chiefs and headsmen present. Yeah. I see. This makes sense. This makes sense. This makes sense. Because Navaja is knife. Interesting. Sorry for the historical tangent there. The state rejected those requests, citing privacy concerns, preventing independent analysis of those records to determine death rates. Experts cite pervasive misidentification of race and ethnicity of victims at critical data collection points, making the true toll of the pandemic on the Navajo Nation impossible to ever know. The Indigenous Investigative Collective has found that these data problems extend nationwide. As of June 2nd, the CDC estimates that 6,585 American Indians, Alaska Natives have died from COVID, the highest rate of any ethnic group in the U.S. That estimate likely falls short of the actual death toll. Yeah, I mean, like, if you don't have access to the legitimate information, you're really never gonna know. We can just comfortably assume that it's higher than that. Even though right now we're showing as having some of the highest death toll rates, it's a gross undercount, said Abigail Echohawk Pawnee, director of the Urban Indian Health Institute based in Seattle, Washington, one of 12 nationally recognized tribal epidemiology centers in the country. That undercount leaves researchers and epidemiologists completely in the dark when creating practices and policies to deal with future pandemics. Yikes, that's so sad. When the coronavirus hit the Navajo Nation, the Utah Navajo Health System was at the forefront of providing testing. The private not-for-profit corporations tribally run and provide services to the Navajo Nation as well as rural, native, and non-native Utah communities. From the start of the pandemic, the UNHS data team reported its information to the state of Utah, local Indian Health Service units, and Navajo Nation Epidemiology Center. We pretty much tracked anything we were doing. Verilyn Hawks, director of the Health Information Systems for Utah Navajo. The scope of what we could handle is basically what we did. At first, it was just test results, then deaths, and now vaccines. Hawks said that his team reached out to neighboring healthcare facilities like Northern Navajo Medical Center in Shiprock, New Mexico, to ask for COVID data from their service area that would provide them with the data. From there, he said the data was reported to the state of Utah and then passed to the CDC. I mean, like, this is... yikes. The most ignorance about the Native American people is that the European settlers just looked upon them as one people, but the cultural differences were as different as English, Arab, and Chinese citizens. It's something people don't even realize don't even realize about the South American cultures, that the Aztecs were Mexican, and the Mayan culture was totally different, and was much like the principalities of Germany before it became a unified country. Oh yeah, like the Mesoamerican history is vastly rich and diverse. That is true. Thinking Sabercat, that is true. That is absolutely true. There is a very, very diverse cultures within the indigenous populations in South America. What is colloquially known as Mesoamerica. The history is very rich. I mean, and those civilizations were pretty advanced. They had like all kinds of cool stuff back then. For a civilization back then, like they had like, like running water. They had like roads and stuff like built. We don't really have a good way to know where our numbers are going and what's happening from there. Hawk said, adding that the process for Indian Health Services was equally opaque. There's no sharing between states. Yeah, that's another problem. On the Navajo Nation, efforts to track cases, vaccinations, and deaths are also complicated by the fact that community members move freely between healthcare facilities, registering at different hospitals and clinics. Patients on the Navajo Reservation tend to be kind of transient, meaning they go to different places for care. Utah Navajo's Chief Executive Officer Michael Jensen said, take for example a patient at Utah Navajo who tests positive for COVID-19, becomes ill, and seeks treatment at that Utah Navajo Health Center. If that patient becomes critically ill, Utah Navajo would transfer that patient to a nearby hospital. If that patient were to die from COVID complications, the hospital they were transferred to may or may not report the death back to Utah Navajo where the patient originally registered. That is the same is true for vaccine and COVID results. Yikes. It might take 45 streams to cover that history. True. That's true. Our systems can gather all kind of data and run reports every way but sideways. But the transient part of that makes it more challenging. And obviously, if somebody passes in an inpatient facility, we're not notified unless we follow up with the family, or the doctor calls. Tracking indigenous COVID patients accurately would involve the entire health system, which is made up of IHS health facilities, tribally owned facilities, tribal hospitals, and urban Indian health programs, private clinics, and other non-IHS health facilities like city, county, or private hospitals. No agency is consistently or reliably doing that. boy? What does that mean? Phones and electronics stop working before Israel strikes on specific areas. That is incredibly heartbreaking. You have done enough by reading it. Well, I mean, we have talked about Israel-Palestine. It means what's up, boy. Okay. Hello, people. Random question. I can only get a good answer from educated lefties. Who do you think in the American liberal sense is the worst group, Hamas or the IRA? I saw a parallel infighting against colonizers. I don't know. Seems like weird question to come in and ask. I don't know. Seems very weird, strange. Anywho. IHS, which collects data from indigenous nations that volunteer to share, instead relies on CDC's national vital statistics. Which receives its information from states. We're not tracking COVID deaths because we want to avoid any underreporting, said IHS Acting Director Elizabeth Fowler, a Comanche citizen and descendant of Eastern Band of Cherokee Indians. The CDC, however, is also likely undercounting. For urban Indian health institutions EchoHawk, a reliable database is the APM Research Lab, which reports at least 5,477 indigenous deaths as of March 2nd, based on figures from all 50 states and Washington, D.C. around the same time the CDC was reporting 5,462 deaths. All deaths, regardless of where they occur, are reported to the state, but the states have refused to release those details. Wait, why? I've had spirited arguments with people about the IRA with fellow left frogs. Hence the inquiry. Yeah, okay, so unfortunately I don't have a good knowledge, a good history behind like what exactly IRA, history behind the IRA. So I can't really make an accurate like assessment or what exactly that will get us, you know? What exactly that will get us. New Mexico in particular, oh wait, hold on. All deaths, regardless of where they occur, reported to state, but the states have refused to release those details. The Indigenous Investigative Collective requests states cause and location of death, race, ethnicity, age, gender, and a specific request for COVID-related information, including whether or not the infection may have occurred at a worksite. I mean, like, that could have, that could be incredibly important, I would say. Those requests were rejected by record custodians in Arizona, New Mexico, Utah, and Colorado, citing privacy and protected health information, obscuring information for COVID deaths in dozens of tribal communities in those 4 states combined. I mean, like, I understand in protecting privacy of patient data, but don't we do that for like literally everybody else? Like, isn't that reported and put together with everybody's like data? Isn't that like one of the most like isn't that like one of the most like classic ways of gathering all the data, of getting people's like race, ethnicity, gender, whether or not they got this infection at work, whether or not they were asymptomatic? Like, all of this information is kind of like, in a grand scheme of things, kind of important in terms of like putting together the bigger picture of what happened in this pandemic. How could you think that this is like protecting health information? Like, it's not like they're using it for anything else other than getting data. Like, that's the whole point of gathering all of this. I don't understand. Gotcha, thinking Sabercat. New Mexico in particular further explained the denial of public records, stating, wait, it can't be public records if you can't get the information. Hold on. Alright, you know what? How about you take a second? The information contained in a responsive record and the responsive records consist of protected health information and information reasonably believed to allow identification of patients. The New Mexico Department of Health Records custodian, Denise Griego Martinez, said, even with the names and case numbers redacted, patients could still be identified. Since this information is identifying on its own and in combination with other publicly available information, it is not possible to redact responsive records. Wait. Okay. Yeah. So by that, like, nature. Wait. So by that, like, shouldn't we be not allowing any not a single COVID data point because it may help or lead to the identification of the, like, wait. So because, hold on. Like, if they requested my, like, I don't know, ethnicity or gender, race, if I ever had COVID, where it came from, like, was I infected at work? Did I find out while I was at a I don't know, at a vacation spot? Like, would that point to me specifically? Because, like, I'm pretty sure they already have that information. Like, why does that that seems kind of strange. No North American cry. Heal me one more time to allow me to release my native Dakota Sioux. Suicide for a while, of course. Lost Sioux. Being weird, yeah, like, that's such weird trolling. Okay. Oh, it's an 8-minute account. Oh, alright. Yeah, whatever. I just came in and I was like, what? Yeah, I know, Skadir. Very weird day today. ADT having a morning? Oh yeah. It's from a song, I'll get you a link. Alright, for sure. Throw it up. So weird. That's okay. Gaps in states COVID-19 data often break in right after a person has died. The process for determining and recording cause of death varies from state to state. Yeah, this is a huge problem when attempting to, like, get a hold of a pandemic. To have, like, such a federalist response to this, not have, like, a unified national, like, real, like, national response or national ability to put all of this together, is creating massive headaches. Minnesota funeral director Robert Gill Siseton Wapeton Oyate said when he sits down to fill out vital statistic forms with a deceased family member, most of the work is straightforward. Legal name, address, time of death, social security number, next of kin, parents, children, siblings, and details of the funeral arrangements. Where it can get tricky is when he needs to include that person's race and ethnicity. They could say I'm Swedish, African, German, Native American, Hawaiian, Puerto Rican, all mixed in one. So I asked the family, what would you like? What are you, and what would you legally consider yourself? There's no limit on how many races or tribes can be written down, and often everything is included. He also doesn't differentiate between individuals who are enrolled in federally recognized tribe or are descendants or simply community members. Oyate means nation. Gotcha. Gotcha. I write down what they would consider their race, whether it gets recorded as that, I don't know. I send that into the state and I don't know what they do with it. In Gill's facility, identifying American Indian or Alaskan Native people is part of the job, but in other parts of the country where medical examiners or funeral homes have no knowledge of Indian country, those individuals can be identified as Hispanic, what? Asian, or any other incorrect ethnicity, because medical workers, funeral home directors, and coroners simply look at the body and make a decision. Wait. Why would... No. That's super yikes. That's super yikes. While no data exists for death certificate undercounts of indigenous people, a 2016 report from National Center for Health Statistics concluded that everyone who self-identified as American Indian or Alaskan Native on the census, 48.6% were classified as another race on their death certificate. Wait. That's so, like... Oh, that's super yikes. Hey, Juniper. Welcome to Indigenous Life, bro. That is super cringe. Like, wait, you can't just like do that. I mean, you would need these specific statistics for a reason. You need to make sure you're accurate, and like, that's kind of bad. That's horrifying. Bo made a good point about this and comparing it to how we study Tuskegee. When all dust settles and we get the long-term reports, suspect we're going to see it is a nightmare and numbers higher than we've been told. Imagine the underreported indigenous death numbers. Yeah, like this is exactly what this whole thing is about, Juniper. This is exactly what this is all about. This is what seems to be an independent indigenous. Might be interested in this video. Hey, Memo.
If you have a peaks is quantified mathematically by measuring the maximum slope of the graph. If the slope never gets too steep, then you can't have any sharp peaks of highly plausible possibilities that stand out. But how do we publish statistics in a way that limits the maximum slope and possible peaks on the plausibilities plot? In practice, the best way to limit an attacker's ability to confidently choose one scenario over the other is to randomly change, or jitter, the published values. Like, for example, rolling a die and adding that number to the average age reported for ice cream lovers. Jittering the published results in a mathematically rigorous way puts a limit on the slope of the plausibility graph, and thus makes it harder for any particular possibilities to stand out above the rest. Jittering results might also seem like lying, but as long as the size of the adjustment isn't big enough to make any significant changes to conclusions you could draw, then it's considered worth it for the privacy protection. For example, imagine I want to give you a sense of my age while keeping my true age secret. If I just told you my age, obviously there's just one plausible possibility. 31. But suppose instead that I secretly pulled a number between -5 and 5 out of a hat and added it to my age before telling you. In this case, all you know is that my true age is somewhere within 5 years of the number I told you, but you don't know my age exactly. My privacy has been preserved, though only to a certain degree, because you can be confident I'm not 20 and not 40. To protect my age more, I'd have to pull a number between, say, -10 and 10 out of a hat and add it to my age. This increases the number of plausible possibilities, that is, the possible true ages that could have resulted in the number I told you. It also increases your uncertainty about my actual age. The trade-off for privacy is inaccuracy. If I wanted you to know my age within a year, I could only pull a number between -1 and 1 out of the hat. In general, the idea is this: more privacy means you get less accuracy. Less privacy means you can have more accuracy if you do things right. When you publish results, hopefully there's a sweet spot where you can share something useful while still sufficiently maintaining people's privacy. And simultaneously maintaining decent privacy and decent accuracy gets easier and easier with larger datasets.
Got it right here.
Like
hey,
how as I
Spanner.
add more noise to this image, you can still get the general picture, even once you've lost any hope of telling the true original value of a particular pixel. So to protect people's privacy,
Yeah, absolutely, Memo. Sure, but like the thing is, like they're not even going that route with the indigenous folks, because like this happens with every other area, right? Like this is only it only seems to be the information only seems to be an issue when it comes to getting like more or less like as accurate or as close as possible with like indigenous folks.
we can and should randomly jitter published statistics, which the US Census, for example, has been doing since the 1970s. However, there's a subtlety. You can't just add any old random noise however frequently you want. If I simply add different random noise to this picture a bunch of times, once you take the average of all the noisy images, you basically get back the original clean image, and you don't want this happening to your data. So there's a whole field of computer science dedicated to figuring out how to add the least possible amount of noise to get both the most privacy and the most accuracy, and to future-proof the publication of data so that when you publish multiple jittered statistics, they can't be combined in a clever way to reconstruct people's data. But up through the 2010 census, the Census Bureau couldn't promise this. Sure, they were jittering the figures published in Census Bureau tables and charts, but not in a mathematically rigorous way. And so the Census Bureau couldn't mathematically promise anything about how much they were protecting our privacy, or say how badly it's been violated. Until now. The 2020 census is a different story. It will, for the first time, be using mathematically rigorous privacy protections. One of the biggest benefits of the mathematically rigorous definition of privacy is that it reliably compounds over multiple pieces of information. Like, if we publish both an average age and median age, each with a privacy loss factor of 3, then the privacy loss factor for having released both pieces of information is at most 6. This means you can decide on a total cumulative amount of privacy loss you're willing to suffer, and then decide whether you want to release, say, 10 pieces of information each with 1/10 that total privacy loss and less accuracy, or if you want to release one piece of information with the full privacy loss and a higher level of accuracy. But how much privacy we need is a really hard question to answer. First, it involves weighing how much we as society collectively value the possible benefits from accurately knowing stuff versus the possible drawbacks of releasing some amount of private information. And second, even though those benefits and drawbacks can be quantitatively measured as accuracy and privacy loss, we still have to translate the mathematical ideas of accuracy and privacy loss into something that's understandable and relatable to people in our society. That's partly a goal of this video, in fact, so let's give it one more shot at a translation. First and foremost, it is in principle impossible to publish useful statistics based on private data without in some way violating the privacy of the individuals in question. And if you want to provide a mathematically guaranteed limit on the amount of privacy violation, you have to randomly jitter the statistics to protect the private data. The accuracy of the information after being jittered is generally described probabilistically, by saying something like, if we randomly jitter the true value for the population of this town a bunch of times, 98% of the time our jittered statistic would be within 10 people of the true value. So accuracy has two components: how close you want your privacy-protected statistic to be to the real answer, and how likely it is to be that close. The loss of privacy due to the publication of information is described in terms of how confidently an attacker would be able to single out a particular possibility for the true data. Given the published information, are there just a few possibilities for the true data, or are there many, many plausible possibilities for what the true data might be? Essentially, loss of privacy is measured by the prominence of peaks on the plausibility plot. And so the protection of privacy requires policing the possibility for such peaks. If we individuals are going to willingly participate in studies and surveys, or use services where we reveal potentially sensitive personal information, we should demand that the researchers or organizations utilize a mathematically robust way of protecting our privacy. Simply put, if they can't guarantee there won't be a peak in plausibility, then we shouldn't agree to give them a peek at our data. Thanks to the US Census Bureau for supporting this video. The founders of the
Huh. Interesting. Okay. He's pretty good with that Crayola marker. I think that's like a what is it called? Doodle. I think there's a program that does these animations for you. There's so many different ways that these death certificates are improperly categorized for race and ethnicity. Echohawk said, but the number one issue ends up being nobody asked the family. Wait. This is so horrible. The CDC website states that cause of death information is not perfect, but it's very useful. While the agency estimates 20 to 30% of death certificates have issues with completeness, this does not mean they're inaccurate. The agency does not respond for comment on this story. The IHS has tried to correct the problem and continue to do so with little success so far. I mean, like, yeah, if you're not playing with like the full like information, I mean, how are you supposed to reconstruct any of this? At this point, it's like, it's safe to say it's, you know, pretty effed. The chief medical officer for the IHS, Rear Admiral Michael Todd, testified that the agency was working with CDC to address the issue of racial misclassification through training. However, Todd stressed that the main problem with collecting good, timely data for American Indian, and Alaskan Native deaths rested almost entirely on how the death certificate was filled out. Yeah, that's true. In short, the death count of indigenous people, no matter how they died, are woefully inaccurate and correcting that is likely impossible without a unified system for tracking health issues in native communities and regulations requiring death certificates to accurately reflect a person's indigenous citizenship, race, and ethnicity. Experts who spoke with the Indigenous Investigative Collective would not give an exact number for the undercount. I mean, because we won't ever know. That's the sad part. We won't, really necessarily ever know. A 2021 Urban Indian Health Institute report card that grades the quality of collecting and reporting data for indigenous peoples give most states a C grade or lower. Eesh. The states that were graded on the inclusion of native peoples and statistics on state health dashboards, as well as accurate CDC data for indigenous people. That information, EchoHawk said, helps leaders make decisions and scientists think through vaccine allocations and help measure success or failure in the health system. Yeah, this is kind of important. That's what I'm saying. This is kind of important. The omission of data on native communities, EchoHawk said, is a data genocide, contributing to the elimination of native people in the public eye and aiding federal government in abandoning treaty laws and trust responsibilities. In other words, no data on native people means no need to meet obligations or provide resources. Yeah, that's... yikes. We're definitely in a situation where we're not capturing all the impacts and we're not capturing all the deaths from American Indians and Alaska Natives. So we know that the true picture is actually worse than what the data tells us, said Carolyn Angus Hornbuckle, who is a Mohawk and Chief Operating Officer and Policy Center Director for National Indian Health Board. That information is needed because, like every other government that's facing this crisis, our tribal nation needs to have real-time and accurate data so they can protect the citizens. Yeah, that's how these policy decisions are made. I mean, yeah, this is kind of important. Not only that, they point out, and I think Lawsu also pointed this out too, without this data, how are you supposed to properly allocate resources? Kind of why things like the census are important, as we just watched that video, right? Meanwhile, infection rates and deaths in Navajo Nation are improving, but the Utah Navajo Health System CEO Michael Jensen said their work continues. We've done our own contact tracing to find out where it started and who those people are interacting with. We've tried to share that publicly for deceased rates, and I think communities should know what's going on. Yeah, I hope everyone would want to provide the most accurate and true numbers possible. Yeah, not only that, it's necessary as part of just dealing with a pandemic. It's incredibly important to have as much accurate data as possible. And it's why is this particular group, why did the indigenous folk get completely shafted? I mean, this is not this is incredibly cringe. Thank you, Universal Discourse, for sharing this. If you guys haven't already, please check out Universal Discourse. They are a fantastic content creator. Please check them out. They're the ones that brought this up. And thank you, Lasu, for hanging out with us. Alright, so earlier somebody pointed out to watch this video here. Alright, let's see.
Okay, I have received dozens of emails and tweets and comments asking me to weigh in about what's currently happening with the online left. As many of you know, I really don't watch much online political media. I limit myself to the stuff I read to be ready to do the show. And then I have other interests and limited time each day. But I am sort of aware of a bunch of the different things that have been going on with the online left. And I want to talk about it a little bit because I do think that it's actually, there's a lot to say here. Now, as I understand it, there's a few different controversies happening right now. I am very much aware of Young Turks host Cenk Uygur and also Young Turks host Anna Kasparian embroiled in, again, if I understand it correctly, it's a couple of different controversies. One is specifically related to another host named Jimmy Dore and sexual harassment or harassment,
Jimmy Daw. Jimmy Daw.
as some like to say. And then another kind of more general controversy is between Cenk and the Young Turks and a sort of contingent of the authoritarian revolutionary left that has a presence online. People like Glenn Greenwald and others. I'm not exactly sure who else is part of this. And so a few things are going on there. And then on the other hand, it seems as though there was kind of a shakeup at the Hills Rising, and there are new hosts there, and that seems to be going pretty poorly from the one thing I read about it. And the question I've basically been getting from people in the audience.
Wait. Okay, hold on. I think he's conflating a lot of different people from a lot of different areas, but okay.
Is whether the online left is tearing itself apart in a way that is counterproductive to the progressive
Yes. Let me just stop you right there, David. Yes.
movement, and whether the left has become overrun with grifters. So let's take these questions one at a time. And I want to say I was actually just interviewed for a podcast.
I don't know if it's like overwhelmed with grifters, but I do believe that I do believe that there are a handful. I'm sure there are a handful of people that are. I don't consider any of these people. Yeah, that's why I'm thinking like he's conflating different people with different the things.
By Cliff Schechter and John Aravosis, where we talk quite a bit about this, and we're going to publish this over the weekend. And we talk a lot about this issue. If the topic interests you, there's probably 20 minutes of this stuff in that episode, which we'll publish to our YouTube channel. So first of all, the fact that there are different views on the quote left is not bad. It's not a source for concern, and it's always been my perspective that diversity of opinion is fine and good and should be applauded and welcomed.
Yeah, I think he means like he made a distinction there. He made a distinction, like the broad online left, like the broad left. Like, okay, some of these people exist on like the outer sides.
Gatekeeping that I've seen some on the left engage in, which includes call-outs about who really is or isn't on the left. I've received many of those, as well as kind of shaming people for views and generally unproductive insults when somebody doesn't line up 100% with your political perspective. Generally speaking, diversity of opinion is good. It's not a problem in and of itself. What is a problem is when people start to focus merely on calling out others, either for personal reasons or for clicks or for money or to gatekeep or to virtue signal or for whatever reason they do it. So I'm going to give you an example. When Jimmy Dore has attacked me, he did on Twitter during the election period last year. I've mentioned my views differ from Jimmy Dore's, but I don't base my show and my identity around calling out people like Jimmy Dore with whom I have differences of opinion. First of all, it just seems so boring. Secondly, it's so childish. Third, what would I even get from doing that? It would probably be profitable. And I've jokingly talked with others about who should I start a fake beef with because it gets attention. But it's just not me. It's not.
Okay, so I'll give him this. Like, it is completely toxic that social media kind of encourages this type of behavior, right? I mean, it is incredibly click-worthy to start drama or to start beef with other people. Sometimes it's even more worthy if you start online drama or online beef with even your own former cohorts or former host or former compatriots or former people who are adjacent to you, because it makes the drama that more spicy or something like that, whatever. And it's encouraged by social media. I mean, yeah, I will give him that.
Not productive in any real sense. Now, the issue of grifters is a complicated one. And when I say grifter, what I mean is someone is creating a persona and covering stories or taking positions or covering stories in a way that doesn't represent who they really are, either because they've decided I can concoct this persona and appeal to a certain audience.
The spectacle.
Or it's going to be.
There we go. That's a better. Okay, there we go. Now we're getting better with the descriptions that I was trying to do in my head. Thank you, Spread It Forward. The spectacle of it, right? The commodification of toxicity. True.
Profitable in some way, I might get paid speaking gigs or whatever the case may be. Now, here's what I can say about that. I'm going to give you a list of people that I know are not grifters. And what I mean by that is whether we agree or disagree on any particular issue, what you see them say publicly lines up completely with what they say privately. They are not playing characters. They're not calculating their positions for how it's going to be perceived by their audiences or for profitability. And the reason I'm able to give you this list.
Any predictions?
Is because I know both these people's public work as well as knowing them privately as individuals.
How much you want to bet he's going to add Tim Pool to that one?
And in no particular order, here are people that are not grifters. Jeng and Anna from the Young Turks. I've known them both for a long time. If you talk to them privately, what they say is exactly what they say on their show. We don't have to agree about everything. Surely, I'd have differences with them about, for example, the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. But
yeah,
they are totally sincere in what they say and what they believe would be best for the world. I am totally sincere in what I say. There is no grift or calculation there. Great. Okay. Sam Cedar from The Majority Report. I've been to what must be at this point 15 or 20 conferences with Sam over the years.
Oh, come on, David. Why you gotta protect Sam like that? Tell the truth, David. Tell the truth. Tell the world the truth.
Where we spend hours together. Every political conversation I've had with Sam and that I've heard and overheard Sam have with other folks, including people from the revolutionary left, etc.
When a political streamer you're watching accidentally calls Trump a progressive, oof.
The public Sam and the private Sam is exactly the same person. No grift. Kyle Kulinski. I've hung out with Kyle and I've talked to Kyle a ton over the years. The Kyle you see on his YouTube channel, as far as I know, and again, I don't watch a lot of this stuff online, it's the same Kyle that I know privately. Farron Cousins from Ring of Fire is the same guy politically, privately as he is publicly. Nomiki from the Nomiki Show. I've known her for probably
Nomiki. God dang it, David. I just noticed your background panels match up with David's more than The Majority Report. Oh man, oh no. I'm slowly, the mask is slowly fading, guys. The mask is slowly, there's only so much glue I can hold this mask together with.
A decade. Private Nomiki and public Nomiki are the same person.
Oh, I know that.
This is not someone who I guess we traditionally consider to be on the left, and this, I don't know how my audience will react to this. Joe Rogan, whatever your problems are with the things Rogan says, and I recently did a video where I said I disagree with what Joe is saying about vaccination. I think he's mistaken. There is no act there. I can tell you Rogan 5 minutes before the show starts and an hour after. And
trust me, we know, David. Rogan isn't that...
It's the real Rogan, okay? Now, anybody outside of this list, some of them are grifters, but many of them I just don't know privately, so I can't really say. I don't know well enough to say their public persona is different than the person they are in private, either for profit or not. Some, I don't want to name names because then I'm just engaging in the same stuff, but there are plenty of grifters. So then the question is the grifting going to tear the left?
Wait, hold on. I used to watch David, but he bores me. Yeah, I can see that, Lee Spanner. Joe Rogan is a real-life meathead? Yeah, of course. Hey, Gaffatil, how's it going? Joe Rogan tries to sell you snake oil in private too? Yeah, he pushes the product because he totally believes in it. I wonder if he actually really does. He's not known for, like... He's not exactly known for doing, like, heavy research. Maybe he does believe in it. I don't know. Where do you fall on the political spectrum? Yes. I've actually never fallen. To my knowledge, I've never fallen on stream. So, there's no video evidence of me falling on stream, therefore it never happened. David P. is in Massachusetts. I thought he was in New York.
Part, but probably not. Some people will make money and are making money with the grifting, with the calculated fake personas.
Like me.
There are others who will then make money from attacking the grifters and on and on. It's not really my thing. I don't think it's particularly good for the progressive movement to have people with retrograde ideologies passing themselves as being on the left. You know, if you are an authoritarian or a faux populist, or you defend or sympathize the authoritarians or the faux populists and the dictators and the strongmen, I would question whether you're really on the left. It's not a left I recognize, but I don't know that it's really going to tear the left apart. A lot of these movements seem way bigger if you look.
Now, there's a thought, Ohio. There's a thought.
Look at Twitter and Reddit and YouTube than they really are. But it's going to continue being profitable, so it's going to continue.
Yeah.
That's basically my take. And a lot of it is very boring.
I know,
A lot of it is extraordinarily childish. And the unfortunate reality is that, to some degree, we're all slightly narcissistic. And what I mean by that is, anybody who, I mean, okay, if you're neurodivergent, then this may not apply, okay? But for people who are, not autistic, and you decide I'm going to have a show where I give my opinion, there's some degree of narcissism there. There has to be, because somewhere.
Hold on, I completely disagree, David. I get up here and I do my show every day, Monday through Thursday, and I give my opinions because they're right.
You believe that your opinion may be as opposed to or different than millions and millions and millions of people who it never occurs to do a show. Your opinion is of some value, entertainment, or it's something that other people would want to listen to. So you're going to have a lot of interesting and different personalities in this space. But within that, there's a huge, huge spectrum. And by its nature, you're going to get this stuff within the space.
Yeah,
and
that's true.
I think that there are aspects of it that aren't good for the progressive movement, but I don't think it's ultimately going to be destructive in the way that some believe it's going to be, because much of the survival of this very space, the online left, depends on conflict and depends on controversy. And so the idea that it will become a distraction from policy, sure, but it's not going to destroy the space overall. We'll have more of this on our Instagram. You can follow us on Instagram at David Pakman Show, and I'd love to hear your thoughts as well. One of our sponsors...
Nah. You chill on your own time, buddy. Yeah, don't break your back on patting yourself on the back. I'm messing around. Hey, what does autism have to do with it? I don't know. I think it's like, I'm pretty sure there was a point somewhere in there. I low-key was just in a leftist channel who was unironically saying similar things to what you just said. Really? So we got a copycat or what? I mean, that's if they're copying what I'm saying. Okay, guys, we need to... So the TLDR of that is, okay, look, there are grifters. There are grifters, I'm sure. But I think that, like, even though I'm not a physicist, I know for sure that based on my philosophy, there's no such thing as infinite, and there could be contributions to physics. Wait. That I can make... Wait. No. That's not how that works, buddy. Science. Yeah, that's like me trying to give medical advice to people. So I think that the TLDR is like, yes, there are grifters on the left, and I think that it's okay to call out, like, bad behavior. Like, for example, if you like a streamer or content creator and you see them do something bad, it's okay to criticize them for that, you know? I just think, like, obviously depends on how you come about it, and you can, as a viewer, can make a personal decision, be like, hey, you know what, I don't really like what they said that other day, you know? Like, I don't know, I agree with them on X, Y, and Z, but Jesus, that was a really bad take on Y, you know? Like, oh yeah, I've watched the whatever X content creator here, and man, like, I generally agree with them, but then, like, they had this really horrible, like, you know, thing come out about them. You can criticize them, they're human beings. Like, all of these people are people, including myself. Well, maybe not me, because I totally don't have any type of degrees of narcissism. I am beyond that. I have ascended beyond criticism. But that's just me, okay? So I'm not talking about myself. I've already ascended past the criticism. But everybody else is a human being. I mean, and yeah, they are capable of doing cringe stuff. They're humans, right? I'm capable of doing cringe stuff. I'm capable of having a bad take. I'm capable of, like, making a mistake, right? I mean, obviously it's my job to do the best that I can and give you the most accurate information, right? The most accurate information. That is my job, or at least try to give you, in my opinion, the most accurate information. And what I think should be brought forth to the front, right? I mean, the whole premise of this channel is to bring awareness to the political issues that aren't getting the attention they deserve, right? So it's not like that. It's not that complicated for me, but it is true that I'm capable of making a mistake. Haven't I had to like do fake news as so many times and be like, oh, hold on, I actually have to retract that. It's actually X, Y, or Z. It's happened. It's okay. And when people do cringe stuff, it's okay to call them out on it. It's okay. I just don't think it's like it should be done. I don't think that like fights should be picked for the sake of fighting, for the sake of clicks, because that starts to look grifty. But you can say you can say, for example, the latest example, because this is like the recent talking, the recent thing the recent incident that's being talked about. I can say I do not like Jimmy Dore. I really never have found any of his politics useful. I can also say, hey, yikes on those comments, right? I think he's cringe, and I think that it was completely inappropriate. Wow, I could say that, you know? Who has come to brainwash us into our own destruction? Plot twist here in Android? Yep, that's me. Thanks for the follow, Ricky. I appreciate that. Jesus, spread it forward. Yeah, like, even though I'm not a doctor, I know for sure that based on my philosophies, there's no such thing as, whatever, insert medical stuff there. And that I could make a contribution to medicine. Imagine how narcissistic you have to be to believe that. Anyways, continuing the, news. Yeah, say no to Jimmy Dore. Proud Boy leader Enrique Tarrio said he started selling BLM and anti-Trump t-shirts after card processing. Hold on. Speaking of grift, and anti-Trump t-shirts after card processing companies refused to work his other businesses. Speaking of grift, protesters at BLM and anti-Trump demonstrations could be wearing t-shirts from an unlikely source, the Proud Boys. The far-right group's leader Enrique Tarrio told the Wall Street Journal in a report published Wednesday that he set up a secret business to sell t-shirts. Well, it's not secret anymore, is it? To sell t-shirts with liberal slogans after card processing companies kept refusing to work with his other businesses. As the Proud Boys gained infamy for taking part in the Capitol riot and other controversial gatherings such as the Charlottesville Unite the Right rally, banks and processing services have taken a stance against the group, making it hard for them to make money. Tarrio wouldn't share the name of his new business, and the Journal said it was not able to independently verify its existence. Insider has contacted... Wait. Oh, okay, so this is Insider, and he made a comment to the Wall Street Journal. Tarrio told the Journal that his secret business sells t-shirts with slogans like Black Lives Matter and Impeach 45. I mean, imagine being like this unprincipled and this much I guess desperate would be the word I'm looking for. A reporter for the Journal, like, no principles whatsoever. They never cared about any of this. It goes to show like just how like vapid these people are. The Proud Boys operate an online shop called 1776 which sells merchandise with conservative bents. But Tarrio said the website was effectively out of commission for months this year because they couldn't find a card processing company that works with them and allow them to process credit card and debit card payments, according to the Journal. Tarrio told the Journal that PayPal, Stripe, and a dozen credit card processors had barred him from their platforms. He said that he got the idea of starting the secret liberal t-shirt company after one processor stopped working with his business, selling a t-shirt that called for one Democratic politician a communist and an idiot, saying it was hate propaganda. The Journal did not specify which Democrat the t-shirt was referring to. Yeah, the only capitalism incentivizes something. Like, it's not even like... like, imagine being this unprincipled. Yeah, the Proud Boys selling BLM shirts. Yeah, like we briefly mentioned Surfer Girl Greedy, Jimmy Dore, Jimmy Fuckface. Briefly mentioned, like, look, we can say he's cringe and disgusting and inappropriate. You know, like, I don't think that's such a hard thing to say. He's still the leader of the Proud Boys after he's got outed as a Fed. Yeah, not only that, I wonder how they feel about him selling t-shirts. The more those shirts sell, the more they have to fight. The more people they have to fight. True. Huh. They see it as feeding more flames for them to get angry at? Maybe. Maybe that's the goal? I don't know, because it seemed kind of strange. Tario said he's found a card processor to work with him for the time being, but doesn't believe it will last long, so he started to work his own... So he's working to start his own card processing company. Multiple Proud Boy chapters have distanced themselves from Tario and the national organization after it was revealed recently that Tario once worked as an FBI informant. There it is, Darknet. There it is. Hey Justin, how's it going? Plus all the money he makes is going to the attorneys anyways? Maybe. They're profiting off the division they helped create. Maybe that's the plan, I don't know. After it was recently revealed that Tario once worked as an FBI informant, Tario confirmed to the Journal that he was an informant, but said that was a long time ago. Hey OG Landshark, how's it going? The Proud Boys appeared to splinter after the Capitol riot, particularly after Tario was found to be an FBI informant. Audio transcript released on Tuesday in a Tuesday court filing showed Proud Boy members squabbling and panicking when members started getting arrested after the Capitol riot. That sounds like a you problem. That sounds like a you problem. Hey, you know what could have avoided all this? Not being there. Yeah, I don't even know if that was the intention, OG Landshark. I just know that it's incredibly rich that this guy has been resorting to selling BLM merchandise and anti-Trump merchandise because nobody would take his other businesses. I mean, you could always just not do any of these things, right? Tomorrow you could say, you know what? I'm done with the Proud Boys. And just be yourself and do whatever on the offshoot, right? Like, to right now, right this second, you could just say, I'm not a Proud Boy anymore. And just go on do something else, right? Like, I don't know. Makes me wonder. I wonder how the FBI flipped them. Like, did they ask for a cigarette and just start spilling the beans like on a cop show? No, usually the way you get informants is because you have something on them. And you use that as leverage. I mean... I find it very rich that this guy has resorted to just selling BLM t-shirts after being like vehemently anti-BLM and like basically you know, has been in numerous altercations and assaults and stuff like that against BLM, and has now just resorted. Like, didn't how could you, I can't fit this in my head. This guy was the leader of Latinos for Trump in Florida. And he's selling merchandise to impeach 45 or other anti-Trump slogans. Like, it's unbelievably hilarious. And like, I thought about what you said, spread it forward. I don't know if like necessarily it has to do with like capitalism incentivizing so hypocritical, because like you could just take his money and move into any other business. Okay, well, somebody got to it before I did. Oh, thank you, Dark Knight. Like, he could literally do any other business. But he chose to sell BLM and anti-Trump t-shirts. Jesus Christ. I was gonna look up something. Hold on. And now I forgot. Train of thought completely lost. Nobody wanted Trump brand tiki torches. Oh man, I was gonna look something up and now my my train of thought was gone. I've seen with big oil. They could divest and go into any business they want, but they'll keep doing what is making the most money at the moment. Yeah, but like even then, I don't know. Maybe. I think you were saying it's not hypocritical. No, it is 100% like hypocritical, because like what I was thinking about was like what you said about like capitalism incentivizes this. Well, I don't know. I mean, like he could literally just pick anything else. Like he could just make. He could just buy the rights to images and just sell random t-shirts of like Mickey Mouse or like a band t-shirt. If you buy the rights for it, you can just slap a print on it and just sell the t-shirt. You buy the license, boom, sell it. And that's it. Like if you really wanted to do that, you didn't have to choose BLM or anti-Trump rhetoric. Second day at work and not fired yet. Well, congratulations. Nice. That's a second day of victory. But what was selling the hottest? I guess, yeah, maybe it's just, yeah, maybe you're right. Yeah, maybe you're right. What's kind of creepy though is that he's not getting a whole bunch of really personal information about people who are buying those t-shirts. Wait, hold on. That is an excellent point. Hold on, that is an excellent point. And how are you supposed to know which shop it is if he's not revealing it? Withholding that info is illegal though? Not really. I mean, like, you could be buying it from his legitimate shop, but you don't know it's him, though. Because, like, it could be a front to like a shell company, right? But you don't really know who's behind that parent. You could be buying from a DBA. Like, for example, A Difficult Truth is a DBA to, I don't know. Let me make up a name here. My old Twitch account, Grunt, right? So I could be. No, I meant like withholding your address after you purchase something. No, I think that's stored, isn't that? Like, I remember like being a processor for like one of my previous jobs. I was a processor, and I'm pretty sure like we had that information as just client information. right? It wasn't really used for anything, but it's client information that kind of gets stashed, right? Not even like necessarily CC info, but it not necessarily CC info, but like basic info, like a name and address and a phone number. Like the company that I worked for, like completely within its like legality to kind of just have that information. Whenever you buy something from our company, whether you buy it from the storefront, you would already be producing that information. So yeah, that's kind of. I see what Pineapple Pangolin is bringing up. Like, it's kind of, I'm not sure if you want to make sure these guys have your information, right? That is so vaguely terrifying. This is vaguely terrifying. Yeah, like now that Pineapple Pangolin brought this up, this is I mean, it could really be nothing. This guy could literally be just desperate for money because of all his like legal fees because of all the charges he's about to face, or he's facing, or he's fighting in court. It could literally just be as simple as this guy's just desperate for money and will do whatever. And all it is really just trying to save his own butt. But also, oh man, that's kind of cringe. Oof, I don't know. I think just as a general rule, be mindful of your information, just as a general rule. Breaking news: the Supreme Court upholds the ACA in fourth time. Sorry. Not surprised. Pretty sure they're not gonna really buck that. Gotta be skeptical. Online claim can be anyone, even a shark. True. I see you, land shark. It could even be a land shark. The 6-3 upheld it. Yeah, I mean, like, upholding the ACA isn't really like bucking the system too much. I would say. I don't know. It wouldn't like necessarily be surprising. I think it could be both, but I don't think it'll be Tario to use that information. Yeah, so like I said, I don't know. It's hard to tell. Yeah, here it is, ABC News. Dismisses the challenge to Obamacare. Is this the one they didn't even bother to defend? Yeah. What ad is this? Is this a Zoom ad? The Supreme Court on Thursday, in a long-anticipated decision, rejected a challenge. Yeah, they didn't even rule on this. They just said no. The court ruled 7-2 with Justice Breyer writing for the majority, striking down the lower court rulings that the plaintiffs, Texas, and 17 other states didn't have a standing to sue. Yikes. The News, All News, just publishes what is titillating to the audience to make the money. I mean, yeah, that's true. Pound of pride. Yeah, I know, Alio. We've all seen that one. We've all seen that one. So TLDR, now that Pineapple Pangolin did bring that up, I have no idea what the motivations are behind hiding who his real storefront is. I find it rich. I find it reeks of desperation, and who knows? Just be safe out there. Also goes to show, like, these people don't care. This guy has absolutely no care. about. He doesn't care about the Proud Boys. He doesn't care about BLM. He doesn't care about any of this stuff. All right. All he cares about is the dollars in his pocket, because desperation of possibly all the the cases against him or whatnot. Oh, come on. Hold on. We're gonna have to do some... Governor Abbott says Texas will spend $250 million to build its own border wall, when the Trump administration was trying to build one. Very, very, very useful diversion of funds. Not, there's no problems with infrastructure or anything like that. There's no problems with like power outages going on, possibly during this heat. Nothing like that. No problems whatsoever. You know what the real problem is? We need $250 million as a down payment to pay for a wall. Yeah, that's what we need. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Seems the logic is sound here. Governor Greg Abbott of Texas said the state was funding a $250 million down payment to help pay for its own wall at the Texas-Mexico border. That's $250 million. Yeah, I know, Greg Abbott. It's more than enough to hire a project manager and contractor to begin building the wall. We're committed to adding more resources as needed going forward. Yeah, this makes total sense. Abbott said on Wednesday that the state's wall would be built on land owned by the state and areas provided by volunteers who surrender their land. He also demanded that Biden administration return land taken by Trump administration for its border wall. Wait, do they not want this, or do they... I don't get it. Whatever. This was taken by Trump. Abbott said those property owners would then be approached by the state to have a state-created border wall built there instead. What? Yeah, it's a damn fence. That's right. He can't build it while it's on... Oh, okay, so that's what it is. Okay, I see. So he wants the land back to the owner, so then that the owner can surrender to the state instead of the federal authorities. Gotcha. The governor announced last week that Texas would start building its own wall after President Biden stopped construction on the border between US and Mexico when he took office earlier this year. He also told a podcast host on Tuesday he would solicit donations from the public to fund it if he had to. On Wednesday, the state opened the website on which Texans could make donations. I mean, listen. These people are so propagandized that they are willing, and I'm sure there's going to be plenty of people donating to this, that they're willing to throw millions, hundreds of millions of dollars for A, a fence, B, a fence that won't even work necessarily for the purposes they think it will, and C, newsflash, Texas doesn't have electricity. It doesn't have a proper electric power grid, and you're wasting hundreds of millions of dollars on a wall? Holy yikes. Yeah, maybe they should crowdfund a working electricity grid next. Yeah, true. I mean, but these, like, unfortunately, that's like the last thing. They don't make the connection between like the incompetence of the Republican government in Texas to the failures of the electric grid. And it's a capitalist opportunity for Mexicans to open wall climbing courses on their side of the wall. We tried to get them to weatherize the grid in the state Congress session recently. Yeah, but I unfortunately, the lack of regulations or the lack of willingness for oversight has basically just allowed the private companies decide whether or not they should. Maybe it's their choice if they want to. ERCOT lobbied politicians, said no. Ooh. Trump's still talking about the wall. Yeah, he's still talking about the wall. He's still talking about immigration. And, yeah. Speaking of which, Florida man, Governor DeSantis is diverting a whole bunch of police officers from Florida to the border, to protect the border, which seems like a waste of resources. You know, just saying. Just saying. Alright, let's check this out. Let's check out where bipartisanship gets us. Let's check it out. 11 GOP senators back bipartisan infrastructure plan boosting its chances of moving forward. Where have we seen that one before? Was that the GIF? Hold on. We can find this. Charlie. View image. Eleven Republican senators supported bipartisanship infrastructure framework, enough for a potential bill to get to the chamber if all skeptical Democrats back it. Skeptical Democrats. Jesus. In a statement Wednesday, 21 Democratic and GOP senators endorsed a roughly $1 trillion proposal which would not raise a tax, which, okay, this is a problem. This is a problem already. This is a problem already. Which would now raise taxes on corporations or wealthy individuals. Okay, so... Okay. The plan would not revamp... The plan would revamp transportation, broadband, and water. Oh, okay. But would not meet many of Democrats' goals for investments in clean energy and social programs. Look, I can maybe make an effort to say we can do social programs on a separate bill. But clean energy and removing our energy systems away from fossil fuels as much as possible in every way, shape, or form as possible is part of infrastructure, is incredibly important, and it has to be included. It has to be. We look forward to working with our Republican and Democratic colleagues to help develop legislation based on this framework to address America's critical infrastructure challenges. Yeah. The proposal serves at least one last sustained effort to strike a bipartisan infrastructure deal before the Democrats move to pass legislation on their own. Literally, and when it comes to this, why? Look how watered down we're getting. A small bipartisan group of 10 senators who drafted the plan has tried to win support on Capitol Hill but has yet earned the blessing of congressional leaders or the White House. A handful of liberals in the Senate have threatened to vote against the bipartisan deal, which says do not do enough to fight climate change or income inequality. If any, okay, but you see, here's the problem. I think that the whole climate change thing is just like it has to be included. Okay, moving our energy systems, our energy grids, are the way we get power away from fossil fuels is incredibly important. It's a good step that we need to take if we're ever even having the remote chance of possibility the remote chance of a possibility of even talking about taking any other actions when it comes to climate change. Holy Christ. Failure to do so, I mean, then the battle for like doing anything against climate change is, I would say, almost lost. It has to pass. Again, I'm not gonna knock if they like do stuff with like fixing the water and the bridges and all this stuff. Okay, great, but like you need the Democratic Party, while it still has the chance, has to include the climate change stuff. Has to. If any Democrats oppose the plan, more than 10 Republicans would need to back it for it to hit the 60 vote threshold to pass legislation in the Senate. Some Democrats have suggested that the party could approve a physical infrastructure plan with Republican support. A skeptic gets assurance that their priorities will be addressed later. Nah. Nope. That never happens. Nope. That... it would be addressed later. Democrats could then move to pass broader investments in child and elderly care. Fine. Okay, that's fine. But the green energy stuff? That has to be a thing. For infrastructure. That has to be. Education, healthcare? Okay, fine. We can talk about that. But, the green energy, in terms of like the infrastructure bill, to revamp our energy systems, to get away from fossil fuels, that has to be included. There's just no way around it. Education and healthcare on their own through budget reconciliation. The Green New Deal seems to me, because this is just aspects of the Green New Deal effectively. Funny enough, is actually kind of the stuff that I advocate for, right? I mean, what are the 4 pillars that I always talk about, right? Food, housing, education, healthcare. I mean, this is it right here. On their own through budget reconciliation. Democrats have to balance concerns from both flanks of their party. The most conservative Senate Democrat, President Joe Manchin of West Virginia, has stressed he wants to pass an infrastructure bill with GOP votes. But you don't have to, though. You don't have to. The Senate Majority Leader, Chuck Schumer, said Democrats would start the process of drafting a budget resolution Wednesday, even as bipartisan talks proceed. He said a proposal folding in social and climate programs included in President Biden's American Jobs Plan and American Families Plan will be considered by the Senate, even if it does not have bipartisan support. Like, so you can separate this. The American Jobs Plan, I imagine, has included the infrastructure stuff where we can build green energy and stuff like that. Okay? Jesus Christ. There's so many items to discuss, but one subject is not up for debate. I will instruct members to ensure that any budget resolutions puts the U.S. on track to reduce carbon pollution at a scale commensurate with the climate crisis. Yeah, I mean, I hope that this is true. One subject is not up for debate. So the rhetoric here is good. Whether or not they stand their ground is another thing. Whether or not they end up standing their ground, I won't hold my breath for. But I will say, this is true. This is not up for debate, okay? This has to pass within this infrastructure bill. There's no way around it. Leaving Geneva in Switzerland after meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin, Biden said that he had not seen the details of the bipartisan plan. However, he noted that his chief of staff, Ron Klain, believes there's some room for a deal with Republicans. White House advisors met Wednesday with 5 Democratic senators who negotiated this proposal. In a statement to NBC News after a meeting, White House spokesman Andrew Bates said the officials found it productive and encouraging. They look forward to briefing the president tomorrow after his return to the White House and continue to consult with senators and representatives on the path forward. Paying for the infrastructure plan could be an issue. Republicans have insisted they will not touch their 2017 tax law, which cut the corporate tax rate to 21. Biden wants to hike the corporate tax rates to at least 25. No, The original plan was 27. You already negotiated down thanks to President Manchin. President Joe Manchin. The president has also promised not to increase taxes on anyone making less than 400,000. Yeah, this is the pre-Trump era. A possible revenue raiser in the bipartisan plan tying the gas tax to inflation could effectively break his pledge. Jesus Christ. The Republicans who signed Wednesday's statement are Senator Richard Burr, Bill Cassidy, Susan Collins, Lindsey Graham, Murkowski, Rob Portman, Romney, Mike Rounds, Tom Tillis, Todd Young, and Jerry Moran. The Democrats who joined them are Chris Coons, Maggie Hassan, John Hickenlooper, Mark Kelly, President Joe Manchin, Jean Shaheen, Madam President Kirsten Sinema, Mark Warner, Senator Angus King, and Senator Angus King. So we have updates from our beloved President Manchin on his demands as to what he would be in favor of. In terms of how he would be moved to vote for SB1. Okay. Let's hear it. Were assuming that I was against SB1 because there was no Republicans supporting it. That's not the case at all. I basically said you should not pass any type of voter bill in the most divisive time of our life unless you have some unity on this thing, because you just divide the country further. Buddy, what are we supposed to take from that? Wait. That is the same thing. That's exactly this. It's not an assumption. You're saying it without saying. I mean, you didn't say it explicitly because you didn't say the words. I did not support this legislation because there was no Republicans supporting it. It's not that you didn't say those exact words. You just said the same thing but different. I don't get it. Like, God, this guy is so unbelievably infuriating. You shouldn't pass a voter bill in the most divisive time of your life unless you have some unity on this thing. That implies unity, meaning bipartisanship, meaning you want the Republican Party on board with this. According to a copy of the list obtained by CBS News, these areas of support including provisions. According to a copy of the list obtained by CBS News, these areas of support include provisions banning partisan gerrymandering and mandating at least 15 consecutive days of early voting for federal elections. Manchin's list also includes areas of compromise relating to ethics and campaign finance. And here's where I start to ask questions. However, he supports some provisions that could be unpopular with progressive Dems, such as requiring voter ID with allowable alternatives for providing proof of identity to vote, and allowing election officials to purge voter rolls. He also does not appear to support no excuse mail-in voting, although he would want to require states to send absentee ballots to eligible voters ahead of an election. The list does not address one of the most controversial campaign finance portions of the bill, which would provide public financing for congressional elections. What is controversial about this? Hold on. I'm sorry. Get fucked. Fuck out of here. Here we are. What's controversial about this? There's no... there's a ban on political TV ads. And a, and they also have, I think a public, like, way of financing elections. Turns out, you decrease money involved in campaigns and increase genuine democratic debate. Turnout in Denmark in 2007. This is just an example. In 2008, it was 87%. Wait, hold on. Did we? No, guys, I got them. Oh, but I wanted to. Okay. Everybody gets a turn, alright? Yeah, so 87% turnout in Denmark. 62% in 2008, which was pretty ridiculous in comparison. The 2008 election was pretty was pretty known for like having unusually high turnout, just like this one was, right? So like this was an outlier, I would say. I love how I love how the ads are trying to sell me magic cards, because I totally haven't been looking at potential magic cards, potentially trying to get back into it. Anyways, I don't understand what's controversial about addressing campaign finance, and providing public financing of congressional elections, eliminating gerrymandering. I mean, where's the problem here? Where's the controversy? I thought this was supposed to be a democracy. Yikes. Third time's a charm. Manchin is currently the lone Democrat who is not a co-sponsor. President Joe Manchin is currently the lone Democrat who is not a co-sponsor. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer will bring the legislation to the Senate floor for consideration next week. Manchin told reporters he was not confident that Schumer would agree to make changes. That's one, but he believes I owe it to them, meaning other Democratic groups, other Democrats and groups that support the measure, to explain his opposition in its current form. I delivered to Bernie and everybody that's asked for it. We've sent all the different organizations. I want to know why and what changes. I've sent it to everybody. Okay, but like, that's kind of weird. I get that you're maybe trying to, I don't know if this is acting in good faith, but like, I feel like I have a lot of questions. Why do you have opposition out of all the things you could oppose of SB1? Why is it a problem addressing campaign finance and how elections are funded? Why is it a problem addressing what effectively starts becoming, what effectively perpetuates corruption? That's a little bit strange, right? Why is that? Out of all the things you could possibly have objections to, why didn't you address, like, what is the issue of addressing campaign finance reforms of how candidates of congressional races, you know, like yours, would be financed. Right? It just makes you wonder, right? It just makes you wonder. And furthermore, even worse, even if we capitulate to President Manchin's demands, how are we supposed to be guaranteed that because he's making an effort for quote-unquote bipartisanship, how are we supposed to guarantee that we're going to get any Republican support, right? How are we supposed to... That doesn't guarantee that this will pass in a bipartisanship manner. We're just continually capitulating. When asked if he believed that Republicans would change their mind about SB1 if changes were made to it, Manchin said he has no clue. President Manchin said he has no clue. So we're going to run through some of these really quickly. Thousands of defrauded ITT Tech students are getting their loans erased. I don't know if this necessarily makes a difference of the scenario, because this was a completely different scenario. This was actually fraud, right? This was a fraud case. So it's very easy to say, like, well, obviously these these students should be like just Thanos snap forgive student loans. But that also kind of and the reason why I'm bringing this up, it begs the question. I don't know if, like, I just want to ask this, pose this question rhetorically, or not rhetorically, but like pose this question: if it is possible to eliminate student loans because of a fraudulent scenario, is it possible that maybe we could have a pathway to eliminating student debt, just as a general rule? We say, okay, we're gonna take 50,000 off the top, right? You know, just scoop 50,000 right off the top. That would be incredibly important, right? So I think the takeaway is that it's possible, but remember, the circumstances of this are because of a fraud scheme by ITT Tech and other like fraudulent schools, right? So I think that it's possible that we could say, you know what, this pandemic has created a pretty rough economic circumstance for a lot of students and for a lot of people who are unable to pay student debt. Because, I mean, if they can't pay rent, clearly student debt is out of the question. Some, I don't know the exact percentage, but some may even have other debt, credit card debt. medical debt, I mean, is it possible to then say, you know, under these extenuating circumstances, could we just not just boop, 50,000 right off the top, just easy? Because this is an extenuating circumstance. This was an extenuating circumstance where people were defrauded, right? Could we not use that same logic to say, wait, hold on, we're experiencing like a massive like economic problem. You know, students are having trouble making rent default, like, and could potentially default on some of these student loans. Can we just kind of address that? I'm just saying. Borrower advocates applaud the new approvals, but call for swift relief for thousands of others whose claims are still pending, including many who attended IT Tech. Peers of Biden administration wants to help people who are owed discharges, but that makes it all the more confounding that they are so hesitant to use their authority to immediately and automatically help the countless of additional borrowers who are waiting. So yeah, like the TLDR is like, you know, given this extenuating circumstance, couldn't it also be that maybe because this is such a trying time and because this is such an economic, like we're going through economic strife, maybe we could help the rest of the student, we could help with student debt. I'm just saying, it would be a massive economic stimulus. Just putting that idea out there that it's possible if they wanted to. The reason why I point that out is this article. The housing crisis is also coming up. I mean, there's millions of people who could potentially be homeless, right? There could be millions of people who could be potentially homeless. And that comes as moratoriums start to come to an end, and evictions are going to start resuming. Now, it is true that there has been a monumental effort to attempt to alleviate the situation, but that's still gonna leave millions of people. The result is that even with patchwork of federal, state, and local eviction moratoriums, some $5 trillion in federal relief that included expanded unemployment benefits, tens of billions in housing assistance, roughly 7 million tenants were behind on rent earlier this year. That's a lot of people. With savings tapped out, unemployment benefits set to lapse, the financial damage to low-income households remains severe enough that they will need more support if they recover with the broader economy. Yeah. For the past year, low-income tenants have relied heavily on government support to pay for their bills. The monthly bills, the measures have helped, but about 1/3 of renters have used unemployment or stimulus payments to pay for rent at some point in the pandemic. But the majority of renters still had to borrow or draw on savings to cover bills, leaving them less able to weather future emergencies, much less save for personal investments or down payment for even a home. Like this is perpetuating the cycle, right? Perpetuating the cycle. And what we're looking at is a potential housing crisis, right? I mean, still about 7 million people. That's a lot of people. That's a lot of people. And even those who are able to, even those who have like barely made it throughout this pandemic, who have barely got by with all the governmental assistance, are going to be treading water. Right? They're going to be left treading water, and the impact may last for quite some time. Just saying, smells like 2008 vibes. Smells like 2008 vibes.
Anyone's? So a couple of weeks ago on the program, we looked at a poll from the Democratic Party primary taking place in Ohio for a special election, and it showed that Nina Turner had a massive lead over everyone else. Her closest opponent, Shontel Brown, was like 35 points behind her. Now, of course, it's not a foregone conclusion, but obviously Nina Turner is doing really well. So, of course, you know what that means. The Democratic Party establishment is going to try to stop her, as I predicted, and they're bringing out the big guns. And by big guns, I mean their special weapon, Hillary Clinton. So Hillary Clinton came out of hiding to endorse Nina Turner's opponent in a pathetic attempt to sink Nina Turner's campaign. Tweeting, "I'm proud to endorse Shontel Brown for Congress in Ohio's special election. Shontel made history as the first black woman to chair her county Democratic Party, and she'll work to help her state and our country recover from COVID. Join me in supporting her." Now, let me remind you that the last time Hillary Clinton came out of hiding to try to stop a progressive from winning was when Elliot Engel was caught on hot mic at a Black Lives Matter rally saying, "I wouldn't be here if I wasn't facing a primary challenge." I'm paraphrasing, but that was what he said. It was this PR nightmare, and it looked as if he kind of sunk his own campaign. So Hillary Clinton comes out of hiding to endorse him after he says that. What happened? Jamal Bowman won, and if anything, her endorsement of Jamal Bowman's opponent helped Jamal Bowman, because what happened? Everyone rallied behind Jamal Bowman, sent him money.
Why does this work? I don't know if it necessarily does. Sparrowhawk.
And this is no different. We all need to make sure that we show Hillary Clinton that we don't care about her input, and we're going to use her endorsement of Shontel Brown, Nina Turner's opponent, to further help Nina Turner by donating to Nina Turner. If you've already donated to Nina Turner, you could purchase merch, you can do whatever, make phone calls for Nina Turner,
Please
but
keep trying
show
to
Hillary Clinton that she's irrelevant in modern Democratic Party politics, and we don't care what she has to say.
Oh, good lord. I totally agree with that. I think that, like, oh, Jesus, Hillary Clinton, just stop, dude. Just stop. Okay? I really think that this is like her being like still just I feel like a lot of this resentment and like there's gotta be some type of like underlying resentment and anger from 2016. I'm kidding. I'm not kidding. I think she unironically lives in 2016. I unironically think she still lives in 2016. Hey Heat, how's it going? Morning. She's a megalomaniac? Yeah, true. But, like, I really think that this is where all this is coming from. I unironically think she still lives in she's still salty. Still salty till this day. Big mad. Big mad.
And honestly, if I'm Shontel Brown, I would not be happy right now that Hillary Clinton endorsed me, because in the past, this has kind of been the kiss of death. Once Hillary Clinton comes out to endorse you, it shows that you're desperate, and she's not very popular, even within the Democratic Party. This is the individual who is in part responsible for Donald Trump and multiple Supreme Court seats going to the Republican Party for decades. So, I mean, she doesn't have much goodwill left, but what little she has, she continues to squander by coming out of hiding to only endorse the opponents to progressives, when progressives specifically are doing well. It's honestly embarrassing. Like, if I were Hillary Clinton, I wouldn't want this to be my legacy. Like, I wouldn't want to be seen as this figure in the party that tries to stop grassroots momentum, but here we are. And honestly, like, I forgot that Hillary Clinton existed before she came out to endorse Shontel Brown, and it was really nice. But it's funny because it reminded me how the left just doesn't take Hillary Clinton seriously. So I want to share some of the responses. Crystal Valise writes, if anyone was unsure about their vote, they should 100%
Thank you for the 100 biddies. I appreciate that.
And that's exactly right. Scott Desnoyers writes, thank you for real this time, Hillary. OMG, it is so awesome for this blazing endorsement for the working people to get behind Nina Turner. Basically, I mean, her endorsement of Nina Turner's opponent is an endorsement of Nina Turner for normal people. Kiss of Death, totally agree. It's a D plus 64 district, LOL. Benjamin Dixon writes, we good. David Dole says, LOL. Nathan Meza donated to Nina Turner, doing his part. Thank you for that.
Like, and again, what is the political purpose, right? That, what is the political purpose if you know that there is a, like, double-digit lead, right? Like, what are you gonna get from that other than A, getting people mad at you, B, furthering like a potential squabble within the Democratic Party? So like, what is your objective here, friend? What is a D plus 64? Sounds like D&D speak. True.
Donna Martin says, still petty as fuck, I see. Gato Fumador says, thanks, Hilldog. I mean, this is just, it goes on and on.
Petty.
It's hilarious to me. You're a sad, pathetic person to want to do this. For her to come out of the woodwork, it's just to endorse the opponent of a progressive is embarrassing. Andrea says, thank you, Queen, for sinking her candidacy. I mean, the responses here are hilarious, and it goes on and on. So, I mean, there you have it. Hillary Clinton might have single-handedly sealed the fate of Nina Turner's opponent. It's just anytime there's somebody who was an ally to Bernie Sanders or has the same politics as Bernie Sanders, because she's still bitter, she's coming out to endorse them. And I don't know that Hillary Clinton did this on her own accord. I'm sure that the Ohio Democratic Party establishment called on her and requested her support. But if you are a politician in 2021, you should stay as far away from Hillary Clinton as possible, because how many campaigns has she sank at this point? You'd think that they know by now that Hillary Clinton is a toxic figure that you don't want to be associated with.
Yeah, that's true. I've never heard this candidate describe anything other than Nina Turner's opponent. Yeah, it kind of goes to show,
here we are, and I welcome
how much of a lead they have, and it's what is the objective here? Current Republican Party's headed for disaster. I'm just hoping it doesn't take everybody else down with it. I mean, well, I don't know. Yeah, it's not good. It's not a good sign for a contest when you're just announced as the other guy. Yeah, true.
Hillary Clinton's support of Nina Turner's opponent. Go donate to Nina Turner.
I love this GIF. I love this GIF. Old school, yeah, but appropriate. Alright folks, it is 11:25, or almost 11:25. I do have to start heading out. We either die because of climate change or these clowns lose power. True. It's gonna be rough, that's for sure. I'll say that. I love my ADT silver t-shirt. Hey, thank you. Thank you. And my red tank top. I saw that. I appreciate that. Before we sign off, folks, if you enjoyed the content, make sure you hit that follow button. Hit the subscribes. Do the YouTube. Follow, like, share. And make sure that you tell everybody and anybody that this is the chillest place to be. For news and politics, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time, Monday through Thursday. Join us on Saturday for Saturday Catterdays with the co-host. Do the Discords. And as always, all your support, I appreciate. We appreciate. You guys are what makes this channel grow. I appreciate all the subs, the biddies, all of that. Thank you for your wonderful support, Heat, with the merch, biddies, subs. Thank you. Thank you all for the new follows. Lonely Raccoon, I apologize. Hold on. Before we sign off. Lonely Raccoon, I apologize. I almost missed that. Here we are. Just want to make sure we get a good one. A good dab in there. Folks, as always, I appreciate all of your support. Go spread the word far and wide that this is the chillest place to be for news and politics. Join us Saturday for Saturday Catterday. As always, please stay safe. Please take care of each other. I love you all, and I hope to see you guys on the next stream. See ya! I spend my money on causes I support. F Walmart. True! Thank you, I appreciate that. Alright. Thank you. Have a good day. You have a great day. Let's see here. Is Ben not streaming? Today's Monday, is it? No, today's Thursday. That's strange. Alright. Dan Simpson, let's go. Thank you. Yeah, no, thank you. Everybody, let's go show some support to Dan Simpson. We're heading out in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Here we go.